Well, welcome to week 9. We're so glad that you're here. You've really showed commitment in coming 9 weeks in a row. If you've done that, you get a gold star. We're just going to unilaterally, you get a gold star if you've come all 9 weeks.
Perfect attendance.
Hey, we like perfect attendance.
Although when I had perfect attendance in 7th grade and I showed the certificate to my grandpa, he looked at me and he said, any dummy can show up.
So hopefully you've been getting something out of the first 10 chapters in Genesis that we've been discussing together, and that you've been learning and growing, and that your spiritual walk has been encouraged by being here. So Tom, chapter 9 is a really interesting chapter because there is a lot happening in the Bible that starts in chapter 9. So tell us the big thought first.
Well, the big thing to me is the promise of God. Yeah, it's in verse 11, and then in verse 12 it says that He gives the token of His covenant, which is the rainbow. Again, we're post flood here, and why does He promise not to flood the earth again? I think that's a great question.
Yeah,
why? What's His purpose in promising not to flood the earth again?
Yeah. And I think it's good to think about this, that before the flood, the earth was watered by mist, and now rain is the medium in which God's going to use to water the earth. And I think you've said it before, think about Noah, the rain clouds come, and you're thinking, uh-oh, here it comes again, here it comes again. And so it's a big deal to have that promise, for especially for Noah. So what's the big question for this week?
Well, the big question then has to do with tokens and signs. They seem to picture a covenant. They seem to picture a commitment. We have them in our lives now, even beyond biblical times. So the big question is, what's the token or what's the sign of your commitment to God?
Yeah. And you might have to think about this a little bit because, not all of us are carrying crosses around our necks or things like that, but there are things that you do and things that you say that are signs that you have made a commitment to Christ. And so be willing to think through that stuff and to reason a little bit together and actually be willing to admit maybe you do have some signs. Maybe you go, I don't know if I do. You do. They're important. So discuss it. Have a good time looking into that. And thank you again for coming. Thank you again for being a part. We'll see you next week.